Thank you for tuning in to Natty News Daily Weekly, where we cover the latest ongoings in natural bodybuilding. If you see a cool story you think we should cover, please send it our way, and maybe we'll include it in the next episode. And if you like what we're doing and would like to support us, please consider checking out one of our sponsors. Our sponsor, Core Nutritionals, for all your supplement needs. Code Natty News Daily, as well as GymPin. If you want to add weight to the machines in your gym, you're running out of room, check out GymPin. Also code Natty News Daily. Enjoy the episode.
All right, gang, we are back with another episode of Natty News Daily Weekly, my weekly recap. We're talking about a couple different stories today. Two athletes that we're going to go over that are they're going to be phenomenal. They already are phenomenal. And then we've got one story that I think you guys are going to want to stay tuned in for. I'm a little bit less caffeinated today, so this might be a little bit slower video. It's a little early in the morning. It's cold, but we're going to dive right into it. So you see the first video or the first post I'm going to share up here is coming from Josh Campbell. So if you don't know him, has competed with the WNBF UK as well as the UK DFBA, which is affiliated with the PNBA. And that's what we're going to be talking about today is this kid. I almost said this man. Yeah, can call him what you want. He's 19 years old. So he's the first teen to win an overall in the UK DFBA history and likely would win a lot of overalls in a lot of different organizations, right? And we know, I've talked about it a couple different times, winning over in the UK, regardless of federation, not easy. So for someone who's 19 years of age to have done that, hats off. Hats off to you guys for sure. And you can see in the caption there, coached by Finn Kelly, good coach coming out of the UK as well. So, I mean, this is just a great physique. Excited to see what comes of his future, right? I mean, the fact that you can get cross striations in your quads at 19 years of age, I was certainly not doing that at 19. We don't need to dive into my backstory, but yeah, congratulations, Josh. We'll be watching you for sure in the future. And then we're coming right over to another phenomenal athlete, another PNBA pro, actually, as well. So both affiliated with the INBA, PNBA, one with the UK DFBA, one US based. This is Jacob ONeill. If you haven't followed Jacob ONeill's story or page, I'm going to actually zoom out. He went pro at the INBA Natural Olympia, the amateur side of things, beat out AJ actually, as well as some other people, obviously. But just great physique, right? So this was when he won 2019 or 2020, 21, somewhere in there, right? It's been a couple years, and that's what the comparison shows. But you can see like already phenomenal physique for another young athlete. And then this comparison, that has the real details to it, right? So 6 weeks out in 2021 on the left, already looking great. 10 weeks out, 2023, 7-pound difference. Now, I would argue there's probably a little bit of a lighting difference. The camera angle is a little bit different. There might be a little more contrast on the right, but I don't think anybody's going to argue that he didn't gain significant amounts of muscle, right? He's leaner at a heavier weight. I mean, that's really all we have to say, right? Looks phenomenal, looked great before, and has put in a ton of effort in 2 years. So he'll be one to watch. This will be, big time pro, not debut because he debuted with the pro show at Mr. Olympia, the natural Mr. Olympia with the PNBA. But I will be very interested to see how he places and how the final package comes together. So again, congratulations, Jacob. Phenomenal work. We'll be watching you. And this is what we really wanted to talk about. So if you haven't read Cliff Wilson's post on Facebook or seen it cross-posted in a bunch of different groups or heard about it, you should listen. When Cliff Wilson talks, the natural bodybuilding world listens, or they should, right? So Cliff is getting on his soapbox, rightfully so, talking about federations demanding loyalty of their athletes, but not really incentivizing them to do so. And this is something I've talked about. This is something natural bodybuilding, our group Natty News Daily has talked about. This is something certain promoters and athletes, literally everyone has mentioned this. None of the federations are openly doing it. Now, I have heard rumors that there might be a little bit of this going on, behind the curtains. But if you want to legitimize your federation, if you want to legitimize the sport and the pro status of your athletes, pro athletes get paid. and not just paid to win a show. Pro athletes get contracts, right? And that's what Cliff's talking about. So he's saying and proposing the idea that any federation, he doesn't care who. In this post, he talks about Cliff's World Bodybuilding Federation, has no intentions of actually making that, though. He would sign the top couple pros to small contracts, right? We're not talking like hundreds of thousands of dollars, because the federations don't have that amount of money, and we all know that. However, if you're asking your pros not to compete in other federations, which multiple federations have done that quite recently, actually going so far as not asking but telling their athletes that if they competed in XYZ federation, they would lose their pro status in their home federation, which, don't get me started on that. Most of those rules have been overturned at this point because they realized that they were shooting themselves in the foot, they being an unnamed federation or multiple unnamed federations. But if you're going to tell your athletes you have to compete with us, if there's no incentive, that athlete's just going to leave. There's enough federations and enough shows and enough quality across the board where you can't just tell someone and force someone and blackmail someone. You have to earn that loyalty, right? And you earn that loyalty by money. Money talks, right? So a couple $1,000 to your top pros, maybe your world champions across the divisions, to say, hey, next year, as our reigning world champ, we expect you to compete at Worlds and one other show, maybe do a guest posing, right? Be the face for the next year. And then it's the right of the federation to name who gets those contracts. Maybe it is the Worlds, maybe it's someone who has a high following, maybe it's someone who's like a fan favorite. It doesn't really matter, but you're legitimizing that person as a professional athlete, and then that incentivizes other pros to chase that, right? And as you have more pros coming in, wanting that contract, wanting that stipend, now you have a bigger pool of athletes. Now you have a bigger pool of memberships that are coming in, which is raising the money, right? So now we have more revenue. So those contracts can even get bigger. And it's this direct correlation where you start to pretty much show loyalty to your athletes that you're asking loyalty of, and people are going to respect that, and your federation will grow and prosper because of it, right? So Cliff for president of something, I don't know, but yeah, he's speaking the truth here. I think a lot of people would agree with this statement, and hopefully it gets in the right ears and conversations start being had or being forced to be had, right? Because the athletes truly have the power in this situation with the state of the sport as it is. So that's my soapbox. That's Cliff's soapbox. We'll see what comes of it. We'll see what kind of conversations happen. There were some interesting comments from certain federation executives talking about, like, is this fair? But we're not going for fair, right? Like, yes, we want as objective testing and as objective judging as we can get. But when it comes to like, oh, this person's getting paid and I'm not, go earn it, right? Like, and Cliff actually compared, are we trying to set up a YMCA rec league, or are we trying to set up a professional league, right? Because pro contracts are different. Your LeBrons of the world are making significantly more money than your lower tier athletes or your like farm league athletes, right? So it just makes sense that certain people get paid because they're a better quality than individuals like myself, right? Who just are probably going to do it just because we enjoy doing it and never make a penny out of it, right? So if you agree with the statements, make sure you leave a like, a comment, a share, a subscribe, tell your friend. I don't really care what you do, but let's just spread the word and grow natural bodybuilding across the world. See you guys in the next one.